Nighthawk is not long for this world. It started its life at Paramount's Great America in California and went by the name of Stealth. It was the very first legit flying coaster when it opened in 2000, manufactured by Vekoma. This was supposed to be their big contribution to the coaster war that was being dominated by B&M and Intamin. But this would not work out as expected. Stealth would be joined by just two other Vekoma flying coasters, both opening in 2001. One called X-Flight at Six Flags Worlds of Adventure, and the other one called Batwing at Six Flags America. The rumor is that Paramount was so dissatisfied with Stealth that they had two more lined up to go to Kings Island and Kings Dominion, but scrapped the plans, and Six Flags picked them up and put them in the parks that were closest to the original destination. Is this relevant to Nighthawk's replacement? No, but this stuff fascinates me, because I'm a giant coaster nerd. Okay, moving on. Batwing is still operating today, but it suffers a lot of downtime. So if you go to Six Flags America and it's operating, consider yourself lucky. X-Flight was moved to Kings Island as Firehawk and operated for 12 seasons before being scrapped in 2018. Stealth only served 4 seasons at Great America before being moved to Carowinds as Borg Assimilator, later renamed Nighthawk. Carowinds is a Cedar Fair park just like Kings Island, which just pulled the plug on their flyer, and both parks are targeted by Cedar Fair as favorites of the chain, getting the biggest and best investments that Cedar Fair is willing to pay for. This tells me that Nighthawk's time is near. Sure, it may be benefiting from Firehawk's spare parts, but it's only a matter of time before this is shut down and Carowinds finds itself with a very juicy plot of empty land right in the front of the park. Just like Vortex at Kings Island, Nighthawk sits on some prime real estate, and the ride that will replace it will stand front and center when guests enter the park. Today, we're going to look at this plot of land and see what could realistically fit here as Carowinds' next coaster. Let's take a look at where Nighthawk is in the park and how much space it really takes up. As you can see, it's a pretty compact plot that makes a pretty decent square. It's about 439 feet long and 328 feet wide, and it sits over some water. It's enclosed on its east side by a footpath with Intimidator and Harmony Hall on the other side. On its south side, it has the Sky Coaster, Windseeker, and Kitty Hawk. On its west side is Carolina Gold Rusher and this building in a back area. On its north side is Vortex. Because it's surrounded, I'm going to stick to the 439 by 328 foot plot to see what I could fit in there. And I'm going to limit the options to what Carowinds could really use in the park. So I won't be mapping out any Intamin Blitz coasters or Vekoma Shockwaves, because that would not make any sense after adding Copperhead Strike. One of the models that always gets talked about for Carowinds is a modern wooden coaster by either GCI or the Gravity Group. And let's start with the Gravity Group. I'm going to rule out the family wooden coaster model like Wooden Warrior or Kentucky Flyer because they have Woodstock Express, which is a little smaller, but it serves the same purpose. So the most compact Gravity Group that I could think of is Boardwalk Bullet at Kemah Boardwalk, which has a plot of 276 by 235 feet, which would easily fit here with room to spare. The shape of Boardwalk Bullet would also fit right into Nighthawk's plot. What if Carowinds wanted to go with a compact but more of a rectangular out and back model? Let's look at Mindblower. Even though its shape would be better for a more narrow strip of land, since it's only 108 feet wide, its 398 foot length still easily fits on this plot of land. Gravity Group can definitely do this project, but their bigger scale projects are usually long and drawn out custom layouts like Ravine Flyer 2 and Voyage. But GCI is a wooden coaster company that's all about the compact twister model, and it focuses on crossovers and an out-of-control feeling. The two modern GCIs that I could think of that has a layout like that are Gold Striker at California's Great America and Thunderhead at Dollywood. Gold Striker sits on a much bigger plot of land, at 520 by 467 feet, and Thunderhead is a little more stretched out, at 492 by 293. Thunderhead could fit if it was a little less drawn out on one side, but the width would definitely fit. Obviously, we aren't talking about putting a carbon copy clone in here, but the size of the plot of land compared to the other coasters lets us see how big these coasters can be. Gold Striker stands 108 feet tall, and Thunderhead is 100 feet, and both feature curved first drops. So we could expect a Carowinds GCI on this plot to be around or a little less than 100 feet tall. I prefer the more out and back models like Mystic Timbers, and this plot is not made for a coaster like that. But a 100-foot compact wooden twister is definitely possible. If not a wooden coaster, what else can go here that will fit the lineup? We do know that Cedar Fair works with Gerstlauer when they put hang time into knots. A Gerstlauer Infinity coaster would be a really solid addition to Carowinds. I didn't even look at hang time's footprint, because that thing was basically built on a plot of land that used to have a boomerang and a Zamperla roto-shake, so that was built to be as compact as possible. There's a little more room to work with on Nighthawk. Okay, I actually did end up looking. It's 345 feet long and 105 feet wide, so obviously, it easily fits here. I wanted to look at one that was a little more spread out, so I looked at Monster at Adventureland. It sits on a plot that's 364 by 198 feet, which also easily fits. The most famous Infinity coaster is the Smiler at Alton Towers, and that features 14 inversions, but that footprint is also very compact, 372 feet by 133 feet. Not only could Carowinds build an Infinity coaster here, they could go bigger, longer, loopier, whatever they want. None of these coasters even crack the 400-foot mark in length, and Nighthawk's land allows for 439 feet, and these are all pretty narrow, none of them cracking 200 feet wide, while Nighthawk has 328 feet to work with. Let's get this out of the way. The RMC Raptor. If they were to build a clone of the prototype like Railblazer, they could fit almost 6 of them on that spot. That does leave the option for a much larger model. Railblazer is 234 feet long, which is a little over half the length of Nighthawk's plot, and its width is also more than 3 times smaller. This could be a taller, faster, wider custom Raptor layout. This would even look different than Jersey Devil, because that's going to be narrow and rectangular. This would be more of a square-shaped layout. I think this would look amazing in the front of the park. But you know what else looks amazing? A big, majestic B&M. Let's look at what kind of B&M could go here. Nighthawk is a flying coaster, so it may seem kinda dumb to replace it with another flying coaster. I think that most people see Nighthawk as kinda janky and weird, because it is. A modern B&M flying coaster could be billed as Nighthawk 2.0, but obviously not named that, because that would be awful. But it would be a massive upgrade to the flying experience. And who doesn't want the flying experience? There aren't that many coasters out there that do this, and simulating the act of flying is a lot less polarizing than, say, wild out-of-control flipping. I'm using the Superman Ultimate Flight clones for this plot because they have square layouts, and it's nearly a perfect fit for the Nighthawk land. It's 414 by 345 feet, so it barely fits in terms of length, and it actually goes over the mark by 17 feet in width. Nothing too crazy. These Superman clones are not the best coasters in the world, but they are solid rides, and the GP love it, so something that size and scale should be considered for Carowinds. Every park getting a new coaster always has that rumor that it'll be a B&M dive coaster. These are generally tall and have short layouts on plots of land that don't seem too extensive. I threw out Yukon Striker because that has a long and narrow layout, and looked at the coasters that seem to be more confined to one place. I was surprised to see that Valraven actually sits on a plot that's 622 feet long and 360 feet wide, which surpasses the Nighthawk plot on both sides. Griffin was a little more reasonable, at 503 feet long and 492 feet wide. So this is almost a perfect square plot of land, but it's still bigger than Nighthawk's plot. Finally, I came down to the new for 2020 dive coaster at SeaWorld San Diego, Emperor. This plot of land is 467 feet by 300 feet. A little long, but it fits right on with the length. This suggests that a possible dive coaster would be the size and scale of Emperor, which is 153 feet tall, rather than the 200 plus foot dive coasters that take up a surprising amount of land. The last realistic option I want to talk about today is the B&M Wing Coaster. For a highly visible coaster, it doesn't get much more gorgeous than a B&M Wing. Cedar Point has made this the face of their entrance, and although Carowinds already has Fury greeting everyone at the main gate, once you walk in, a majestic B&M Wing Coaster over the water would look amazing. The one I chose for this plot also sits on its own landlocked plot, X-Flight at Six Flags Great America. This is 471 feet long and 300 feet wide. This exceeds the Nighthawk plot by 32 feet, but can handle the width and still have 28 feet left to spare. It seems like this plot of land was made for a ride like X-Flight, and a custom layout could definitely work here. Now let's talk about the two wildcards, starting with the Access Coaster. This has to be brought up whenever we're talking about any park getting a new coaster because it's such a cool concept and we really have no idea what this thing is capable of. We've only seen the prototype at the SNS headquarters in Utah. I imagine that it will be a launch, compact coaster with some near-miss elements, something that seems perfect for a plot of land like the one Nighthawk is currently using. But it doesn't really seem like something Cedar Fair would do. It seems like much more of a Six Flags move. Plus, SNS and Six Flags work together a lot, and Cedar Fair does not. If King's Dominion gets a free spin, that will be the first time. It's an interesting thought and a possibility, but I would not bet on it. The other wildcard is what stands to the west and the north of Nighthawk. We have Carolina Gold Rusher and Vortex, a pair of coasters that may not have the longest future at the park. Let's leave Carolina Gold Rusher alone for now and give Vortex the axe. This adds nearly 200 feet of width, but it doesn't do much to the length. But now you're talking about a 439 by 518 foot plot, which opens up a new world of possibilities. Now, let's also scrap Carolina Gold Rusher. Now we have this giant plot of land right in the middle of the park, and Carowinds would have to add something that would justify getting rid of 3 coasters. But with a 781 by 600 foot plot of land, they could definitely make it worth our while. This is when you can start talking about a large-scale wooden coaster. Wodan Timber Coaster at Europa Park easily fits on this plot, but so can an RMC Topper Track wooden coaster. It's almost perfect for Wildfire at Kilmartin. I don't think we're ever going to see all 3 get removed for one giant coaster, but it's still fun to think about. So snapping back to reality, there are plenty of great options that can fit on Nighthawk's plot alone. And since there's little chance that this lasts more than 5 more seasons, Carowinds may be looking to this plot to build their next big coaster to follow up on 2019's Copperhead Strike. Let me know what you think is the most likely option for this land, and what you would most like to see. Keeping in mind that the whole point of this video is for realistic predictions only. I would like to make this a series for coasters that look like they'll be taken out soon, so let me know what other coasters that you'd like to see me take a look at next. So that's all I have for now. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.